Good afternoon, Patriots. You are watching a special live, very special segment of We the People with Trisha Flanagan. We have, of course, everybody's favorite executive producer with us as always, Michelle Albergo. Hey, live from Naples, Florida. And as you know on We the People, we like to get right to the meat of the show. And today is, in my opinion, our most special guest ever. I've tossed it out there. I will stand by it. My prediction is that Erika Donalds is going to be our next Second Lady. We'll get into that in a minute. But without further ado, let me bring on Erika Donalds, and then let's discuss her very impressive resume and what she's about to do for our country. Welcome to the show, Erika.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good afternoon, Erika.
It's truly our pleasure. We're so honored to have you. Our guests are in for a real treat today. We want to hear all about your very impressive resume and also what your plans are moving forward. So let me toss this to Michelle right now. And Michelle, can you share a little bit about Erika's impressive accomplishments?
Oh, I'm super happy and thrilled to do that. Erika is a champion in our community here in Collier and Lee County. Her and her husband are rock stars, and we are fortunate to have them part of our community. Erika is not only a champion just in life in general, but she's a warrior when it comes to education. She is the president and CEO of the Optima Foundation. She's a warrior for school choice, and she makes it known through, not through emotion, but through data and real specifics, why school choice is the way for this country to go, and why we have much better success with students when we have a plan of school choice and classical education. So Erika Donalds, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Yes, you're absolutely right. I believe that education freedom is the pathway to economic freedom. It was for me and for my husband. We both came from very humble beginnings, but we're fortunate enough to get a good education that brought us the ability to get economic freedom, and also woke us up to the policies that were holding us back and hold so many people back as victims. So we are huge advocates of school choice and education freedom for families to make sure that every child gets the education that they deserve, and ultimately will be able to be free to be a successful and contributing patriot.
Oh, we love that. Both Michelle and I are huge proponents of educational freedom. We're both moms, as are you. Probably, I'm sure you would agree that your most important job is being a mom to those three wonderful children. You have such a beautiful family, Erika, and you and your husband, who is Congressman Byron Donalds, you walk an amazing line. And what I mean by that is you have such a wholesome family. The pictures are just breathtaking of you as a family. You and Byron have achieved something very impressive, and that is, having this cocoon of a protected family, but living in the spotlight of DC. We all know that that's where swamp creatures reside. And most recently, your husband, Congressman Byron Donalds, was one of the nominees for House Speaker. And I just want to share that one of my favorite photos in that whole process was Byron and your son in a silhouette, walking through a door with a light in front of you, and the comment that was, basically that's what it's all about. Can you share what that was like as a mom, as a wife, going through that process of watching your husband up for nomination as the next Speaker of the House?
Yeah, it was definitely a surreal experience. And I was so blessed that Mason, our youngest son, was able to come with me to DC, because we don't live in DC. We don't live in the swamp. And we say that all the time. We live in Naples, Florida, in paradise and in our district. And Byron goes to DC to work for the American people. But we live here in Florida. We are Floridians, and proud Floridians at that. But Mason and I were invited to come and watch the Speaker of the House race, including the forums when there were 9 candidates at first. We got to sit in the room with the Republican delegation, and there are no press in the room. There are no phones in the room at the time, and just the members and a couple of spouses of candidates. of course, my son and some of the staff, but it was very, very closed. And we got to hear from all the candidates. And of course, I was so proud of Byron for stepping up. I think he's an incredible leader and patriot and constitutionalist and would make an amazing speaker. We also just trust God, and being a part of that process and watching how it went through the 3 days that we were there, and seeing Speaker Johnson emerge as the winner after many rounds of votes and things going on behind the scenes that we were watching happen. It truly was historical. And that was what was so great about sharing with my son, who actually loves history. But you also saw the different things at work. I don't want to say evil and good, but that's kind of what I have in my mind, is just the different forces at work for the control of our country, and how Mike Johnson emerged victorious from a lot of scuttle, going on in the room and behind the scenes and with the media. It's interesting, and I wonder if our founders pictured this type of a process of what has happened this year with McCarthy in the very beginning of the year and then being ousted, and how our Republicans came to a new speaker, and now what's going to happen now that we have such a thin majority and a new speaker at hand. So I love history as well. It was like watching a documentary in person, which I absolutely love, documentaries in history. It's an amazing thing. And I just support my husband in anything that he wants to do or God calls him to do. And he's happy with the outcome, so I'm happy with the outcome.
Well, I love that. One of the things I love most about what you said is about your faith, about putting it in God's hands. And, when you mention our founding fathers did that. They prayed, they fasted for our nation, and they gave us a republic if we can keep it. Right. And so I see the forces aligning. The pull is there between the forces of good and evil for the heart and soul of our very country. And I think that the 2024 election is going to be moment critical. I think that we will either get our country back, or we could plunge further into the depths that the Biden regime is taking us. Walk me through a little bit, Erika, in terms of what you see right now in Congress from this view, this very intimate view that you have. You mentioned the slim majority. Nancy Pelosi had a slimmer majority when she became House Speaker in 2018. What can we do as Republicans? A lot of us are frustrated. A lot of our viewers, we hear from them. They're so frustrated. They want action. We want action. We have a slim majority, but a majority nonetheless.
Right.
What do you see? What are the things that are happening now in Congress that can give our Republican majority hope? And how can we anchor that to get even more accomplished when I believe we'll get back the White House in 2024?
Well, I think we have to get back to the base principles and things that we all agree on. I know Byron really went all in on border security. We know that not just Republicans are in agreement about border security, but now you have Democrats saying that the immigration crisis is going to bankrupt New York City, for example, right? The mayor there complaining about the immigration crisis and its effect on their budget. So that's something that we should really be rallying around and pulling all Republicans together on things that they can vote together, they can rally together, they can stand against Biden together. And border security, I believe, is one of those things. It's difficult because, as you mentioned, Nancy Pelosi had a slim majority, but Democrats, that's what they do. They're in lockstep. They are not independent-minded like Republicans. It's both our strength and our weakness when it comes to voting together in Congress or working together as a team, because the foundation of our republic and of our party is that independent mindset, that rugged individualism. It hurts us when it comes to working together and making sure everyone is on the same page. But we wouldn't ever want to be like the Democrats and like socialists that are always working in lockstep. So we have to find the happy medium. I think getting wins as a team can help us to do that. And that, I believe, would start with a border security win.
I think that's going to be key. And you mentioned that I think I'd like to refer to you and Byron as one, because as a married couple, you both are in this together. You both are, I believe, constitutional conservatives, as you already mentioned as well. And I'm a big believer that we should start legislating directly from the Constitution again. I think that's one of the ways we can bring back our country. And so, are there any things that we can look to from the Constitution that can help build on what you just said, not just border security, but I mean, even things like, look, I think impeachment is unrealistic right now. Even Speaker Johnson said that right now he said they don't have the evidence. What I think he meant by that, there's plenty of evidence. What I think he meant is that he wants to tee things up correctly so that legally speaking, if we go that route, it's going to stick. But people are thirsty for consequences. Is there anything that you see, again, from your unique perspective, that constitutionally we can lean on to at least get that ball of accountability rolling so that when we get the DOJ back, that the subpoenas can be issued? Can we tee things up in such a way that, you know, we have subpoena power now? How can we leverage that and get this ball rolling to mount the accountability efforts for the next administration?
Well, I hear the same things you do from constituents, and they are impatient about accountability for weaponization of the government, for the Biden crimes that we have seen evidence of. But I do recognize, and of course, hearing from my husband as well as Speaker Johnson about lining up all of the evidence to make sure that that accountability actually sticks. You know, we saw, again, looking at the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi brought impeachment without even a vote on the floor, without the evidence. And that's a form of weaponization of Congress against Donald Trump. And we don't want to be like them. But we also have seen Republicans drag their feet on things in the past and tell us they're going to do something, and really they don't. It's just the same story over and over again. And people have lost trust with Republicans in Congress. When we were out campaigning for Byron for Congress, one of the number one questions he got was, well, when you get the majority, what are you going to do with it? Because we've seen you had the majority before and you didn't do anything with it. And people are just sick of that, right? It's being true to your word, being true to the principles of the Constitution, like you alluded to, but also do something, right? Do something with the power of the purse that the House has, and don't let the Democrats and Joe Biden scare you into submission. And unfortunately, we saw that earlier this year with some of the debt ceiling negotiations, where the founders very clearly gave the power of the budget and the power of the purse to the House of Representatives, because the House members have to go back to their districts and campaign every 2 years with intentionality from the founders so that they would be held accountable by the people. And the people who have the purse are supposed to be held accountable. But if they're not going to use the power of the purse and they're going to let the Senate or the White House dictate how immensely vulnerable we are in our fiscal crisis here as a country, what are we even doing? Why are we allowing the Democrats to bankrupt our country when we have the power of the purse as the majority of the House? So I think if you're talking about going back to governing by the founding fathers, it starts by probably the biggest crisis that our country faces right now, and that's a fiscal cliff of spending and debt that is going to eat us alive if the House doesn't do something about it.
Well, you are spot on, in my opinion, and I'm seeing some commentary that people are cheering you on for those comments. That we're in lockstep. That's where, you know, the people really are echoing the voice of Congress and looking for that accountability. And we are hearing you, and we are getting encouraged by that. You know, follow Erika Donalds, follow her on Twitter, on Facebook. You're going to get up to the minute insight on what is going on, because there is a lot going on. I don't want our audience, I don't want the people of America to get discouraged, because help, truly real help, is on the way. And what I'd like to do is pivot to my next question about what I'm hoping. Partly I'm cheering for all of this that I'm going to say now, but also I think it's going to be good for the country. So the first part of this is your background is so impressive in education. And I think a lot of us patriots, we want a Department of Education, but one that will protect the rights of parents, that will fight for the rights of parents. And as Michelle said, you are a true warrior in that regard. I could see President Trump tapping you as our next Secretary of Education. Is that even something you would consider? And even if not, in whatever capacity, what can we look forward to in terms of your championing school choice, educational choice, and parental advocacy as well?
Well, I appreciate that. It's such a compliment. And our president, Donald Trump, has alluded to that a couple of times. And it's very humbling that he would even consider me as a name just to throw out there, even if it's just a joke or a talking point. But I would do anything to help save our country. I would go to the ends of the earth. I mean, I'm not in the military, I'm not a soldier, and there are a lot of things that I can't do, but I absolutely can help with education policy and advocacy. That's what I do. It's what I've dedicated as my life's work. After leaving investment management for 20 years, I had a great career, but I discovered school choice when I found out I didn't have it for my son, who absolutely needed a different option outside of our zone school. And as I started to look around, I realized, when I didn't have rights as a parent. The school was threatening me to ship my son to a different school if I didn't put him on drugs. And they do the same thing to many parents. And I was so angry at the government schools and what they were trying to do to me and my child that I found a way out. And then I was determined to give other parents a way out. And that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years, not just creating great schools for parents to have another option, but advocating at the state level for school choice and education freedom policies. I also just signed on with the Heritage Foundation as a visiting fellow for education freedom to help them put out more research and more policy work around the country to make sure that states are supporting parents' rights, protecting parents' rights, and expanding school choice in a meaningful way that gives parents the ability to take advantage of education freedom. Now, going back to President Trump, I've told him that if he were to appoint me as education secretary, he should only do that if he wants that department shut down, because I do not believe that it is constitutional or that the federal government should be involved in education at all, except for, and you mentioned this, which I haven't heard very many people talk about, as a protection of education as a civil right. That is the only role that I think the federal government should have in education, protecting the rights of its citizens to access education and not be trapped, or in my case, blackmailed at government schools and government indoctrination and basically weaponization of the public school system against parents and children and our country, frankly. So yes, I would be very happy to serve President Trump in any way that he thinks that I can be helpful to him in his administration or for the future of our nation. But in the meanwhile, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and serving parents and advocating for great school choice policies in every state possible.
And this is one of the gazillion reasons why we love the Donalds here in Naples. I know all of America that's watching right now are really jealous, but you live in, my county. So I'm really happy to have them. But see, they're the real deal. And like Tricia said, it just brings so much hope. And we need more Erika Donalds and more Byrons out there, because there is no other agenda for this couple than to improve the lives of Americans. In whatever way possible, they've dedicated their lives to service, and I've seen it firsthand, even just locally. And so that yes, they're on the national stage, but I've seen what they can even do locally. This couple, this family, is involved in their community. They're accessible. It's not like they're just, oh, there's a congressman. Byron stopped by my daughter's office the other day because she works for Moran Wealth Management a couple months ago. And she says, Mom, Byron just stopped by. These are real people who just are serving their country. And if we only had more like Erika and Byron, perhaps we'd be in a better position right now. But I thank God every day that we do have an Erika and a Byron Donalds. So thanks, Erika.
That's really kind, Michelle. But really, there are people like us all over the place. Like I said, I was
great.
just a regular, I'm an accountant. I was working in investment management. Byron was in finance, working in banking. And we just got mad at what the government was doing. We came up as part of the Tea Party movement. The first thing we did in politics was stand on the street corner with a sign, taxed enough already, because we recognized all of our neighbors were not paying their bills and they were going to get bailed out. And they're buying Mercedes and boats, and we're over here busting our butts trying to be honest citizens. And the government was enabling it and even sort of encouraging people to be irresponsible. So we just got upset about that and started getting involved and being advocates, like you said, for just better government and constitutionalism. We studied it ourselves. We didn't come up in politics. And I feel like the message here is that everyone can be us, everyone can be involved in a meaningful way if you just take that first step, go to that first meeting, research whatever it is that's upsetting you about the government or about politics, and get involved in some small way. It doesn't mean you have to make it your whole life like we have, but at the same time, we need every single person in this country to really wake up and do their part for advocating for our Constitution, for our country, and for our future. Because
that is the call to action.
Otherwise.
Yeah, that's the call to action we all have to hear.
That's so true. And Tip O'Neill famously said to Ronald Reagan back in the 80s that all politics is local. And I think that this is kind of an ideal way to integrate all of that, starting locally and then, creating that breadth naturally where all America can benefit from that kind of perspective. And with that, I'm going to put one more thing on my wish list. And that is I'm wishing for a next second lady to be Erika Donalds. And I think that that's a very realistic goal, because I hear that Byron Donalds is on the very, very, very short list for vice presidential candidates for President Trump in 2024. I can't think of a better candidate. Is there any kind of an inside scoop that you can share with us, Erika, to make that dream come true?
I wish I had more inside information than that. I know he's on predicted as one of the top candidates, as people have sent me, and he's been mentioned a lot. I think he would be an incredible vice presidential candidate for President Trump. Obviously, we've been really advocates of what Trump was able to do in the 4 years that he was in the White House. I loved Trump because he's a business person. He is not afraid. He has the courage that we need, and especially the strength that we need around the world, because world leaders are trying to eat our lunch with the weakness that they see at the top in our country, and Trump will push all of that back for good. I really want to see him elected. And once again, I know Byron feels the same way. We will do whatever Trump needs us to do to make sure that he wins in 2024.
That's so encouraging, because when you look at this analytically, which we like to do on this show, when you look at the field of candidates, now look, everybody has got their favorite. I mean, I believe that Trump is going to get the nomination by a landslide. So then that we look at, well, what's next on the horizon? We have a field right now. We saw in the debates, the Republican debates thus far, that no one is really emerging as a next shining star. I mean, we see Vivek Ramaswamy. I know that he has his own set of fans, but there are some real red flags when it comes to Vivek. He has a very Soros-related past in terms of funding that he had gotten. He had that scrubbed from his profile before he ever stepped on the political stage. We have, Nikki Haley, who I think is a non-starter. Chris Christie, my ex-governor, who went from, a great conservative to bad to worse. And now I think he is just not even, going to pass any of the Republican conservative tests that we need to have in the vetting process. I think that Sarah Huckabee Sanders was floated around, but all roads lead back to Byron. And again, I want to stress that constitutional perspective. If we want to legislate again directly from the Constitution, that's the lens through which we have to evaluate all of these candidates. And when you look at it that way, that my money's on Byron. We will see. This is going to be a bumpy season, but do you have any thoughts that you can share on how the field is shaping up, and your gut read on how 2024 is going to shape up?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm following this very closely, and we jumped on and endorsed Donald Trump early on. We were just tired of people even asking about it. It was sort of like, there's no question who our nominee should be. It absolutely should be Donald Trump, and we're really glad to see him emerge in such a strong way. I don't think there's any question who the majority of Republicans support for 2024. So I think the primary is over. As far as we are concerned, everyone needs to just get on board and let's start all rowing in the same direction to make sure that we beat Joe Biden. I love to see the polls that are coming out where Trump is just way ahead in key states that we need to win. And I don't think that gets any, I don't think it gets any better for Joe Biden. Things get worse every single day in this country thanks to his policies, and people are starting to fully recognize that on both sides of the aisle. So I think that's great. I think Trump runs away with this. When it comes to the vice presidential nomination, I do think that the Republicans have a great bench. We have a lot of really strong leaders. You mentioned Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who I think the world of. She's doing an incredible job in Arkansas. And it's hard because you think we have great governors in some states, and you don't want to lose a good governorship, for vice president. But I've known my husband for over 23 years now. We've been married for 20 years. We've known each other since college and really grown up together. And I saw him learn about the Constitution. I love that you're such a strong constitutionalist. Byron studied John Locke. He studied the Magna Carta. He studied all of the really baseline documents that formed our country. That is how he came into conservatism. He was a Democrat from Brooklyn because that's what Black men from Brooklyn are, right? He didn't know any better, but when he studied it for himself from the very roots of the foundation of our country, that is how he came to be a conservative. And that's how he came to love our country the way that he does. And I think that's so unique among members of our party. It grounds him in his decision making. And vice president, although we want them to bring votes to the ticket, we also want them to be able to step in and be president, called to do so, most importantly. And being the person who knows Byron the best out of anyone on this planet, I can tell you he would be ready to do that on day one and do it in a historical way that would bring our country back to its foundations. And I could not imagine a better person to be on the ticket with Donald Trump. We ran in 2016 for the first time. And so Donald Trump was on the ticket, and Byron Donalds was on the ticket. And we told everybody when we knocked doors, just vote for the two Donalds. So it'll be perfect when we're knocking doors. We get to do that again.
Right. I love that. Donald squared. Yeah. And I can't think of a better second lady in our future than yourself. And every second lady has their own cause that they champion. And of course, you have so many talents. You have a great field of options. But what better opportunity for parents also than to have you championing that cause directly from the White House in a lot of ways. This is a moment in our country where there's opportunity. We have so many challenges. The Biden regime, which I will consistently call them until they're out of office, the Biden regime is taking away our freedoms. They're bearing down on everything that's good in America and trying to take it away from us. And all we have to do is look to those charters of freedom, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers. All the answers are there. Are they perfect? No, but they are divinely inspired, I believe. And it is the blueprint for not just governing our country, but for reclaiming America and all the things that we still can be. So, Michelle, do you have any final questions for our guest?
No questions. But I know that if whoever's tuning in right now is going to sleep much better knowing that we have Byron and Erika Donalds and President Trump and so much to look forward to. I know I'm going to sleep better knowing that. So thank you so much for coming on and giving us that inside scoop, because so many people don't understand the back workings of things. They want it done yesterday. And there's a process, and we have good people that are on it. And I know I'll sleep better knowing that. And I hope that this broadcast now will help others sleep better knowing that.
Oh, absolutely. And I promised that I would keep this to a half an hour. I have so many more questions. I'm hoping, Erika, that you would come back and join us again sometime.
I would love to come back, and thank you both for being such amazing patriots and doing your part to spread the good word about our country and our foundation and our Constitution. So you're doing amazing things, and I appreciate you very much.
Tricia always says we will never back down, and we're just going to keep going forward. There's nothing that's going to stop us. We have God he's on the throne. So just keep pushing forward, and we do this together.
That's right. Never give up, never surrender.
Never surrender.
So, and we're honored and blessed to have you, not just on the show, but fighting for our country. So thank you, Erika Donalds. Once again, we look forward to next time. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you. Tell Byron I said hi.
Will do.
All right.
So what an incredible show. My gosh, I am speechless, which barely ever happens. No, I'm truly in awe of the things that we have yet to accomplish in our country. And when I hear people speak up like Erika, I feel all the more confident that we're going to do that. Yep. And God's leading the way. So praise, as always, praise and glory to him. So thank you for joining us for this very special We the People. We look forward to next time. And in the meantime, God bless you. God bless Florida. God bless New Jersey. God bless America. And God bless our great President, Donald J. Trump. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.